Welcome back to What's on Your Plate. Today I have a special guest, Rod Kafer, ex-Wallaby, professional athlete, type 1 diabetic like myself, and today I'm feeding you a plant-based feast.
Well, look, Drew, thanks very much for the welcome. I think it's better to say former professional athletes.
Oh.
You know, when you hit your 50s, unless you're a great golfer, which I know you're a very good golfer.
You're not too bad.
But if you're a great golfer, you can still play in your 50s.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, rugby players, we can't last.
Yeah, you're not going to
long.
play into your 50s.
No.
Well, today I've got some plants for you, mate. I know that this is a little different. You probably don't eat this many plants in one sitting.
I wouldn't eat this many. No.
Yeah. But we've got the whole rainbow spread here. So essentially, you pick what you want to eat. Let's have a think about what we're putting on our plate and just give people an insight into life with diabetes and
Sure.
kind of like counting carbs. And, you know, maybe you don't want to choose some of the carbohydrate-rich foods. So the selection is pretty wide. I've got pumpkin and sweet potato.
Okay.
Pumpkin is a lower carb, one of the starchier vegetables, a little bit lower in carbs compared to, say, the purple sweet potato.
Yeah.
Then you've got, obviously you would know this, but the low carb sort of free foods, they call them, cucumber, carrot, cabbage, broccoli, leafy greens. The most carbs you're going to get in this meal are coming from the brown rice, the purple sweet potato, a little bit in the chickpeas, and then, yeah, just build your own bowl.
Perfect.
All right?
Yeah. Well, I never ever eat white rice as an example. In my life, that's almost the worst thing for me.
Yes.
I can do brown rice.
Yeah, likewise.
Okay. Yeah.
It's interesting. I remember when I was first diagnosed, I would go get sushi.
Yeah.
Mate,
Worst thing ever.
the worst. Guaranteed spike. Sushi, pasta,
Yeah.
pizza,
Yeah.
white bread, white rice. First off, let's check the bloods.
Sure.
See where we're at.
Yeah.
I'm actually a little bit high at the moment from my coffee that I had earlier.
Yeah.
I'm floating around 8.2. So
Well, I'm 6.2, so we're good. They're good numbers.
good enough.
Good numbers.
Good starting number. That's nice.
Yeah.
I also give my insulin via injection, and usually I wait 15 minutes before eating.
Sure.
So I'll give it now. Probably try wait 15 minutes, but if I'm too hungry, I might just go before that.
Yeah.
Do you want me to build the bowl, or
Yeah, you build the bowl.
you tell me what you want?
Well, no, I definitely. We'll start with a little bit of
You
rice.
do want some rice?
I'll have a
Okay.
small scoop.
I don't
of
want to be
rice.
responsible for
No,
that
no,
6.2 going.
See, now I've got to also. I use a pump.
Yeah.
Move to I injected for 25 years. I've been diabetic since I was 15. Now 52. So
Yeah.
37 years, 25 years. You know, either syringes or some variation of the syringe
Right.
into when they brought out the pens.
Yeah.
Pens only came.
Yeah,
I might have been
much
6
later,
or 8 years as a
Yeah.
diabetic. Was pens for a long period of time, but 2011 switched over to the pump.
Yeah.
I could never have. I don't think I could ever have used a pump when I was playing.
Yeah.
Now the lifestyle a little bit more sedentary,
You're right.
a little bit
That's
easier.
actually a great topic. We'll talk about it on the
Yeah,
pod, but
yeah.
that's a great thing I want to
Yeah.
talk about.
What about the pumpkin?
Pumpkin?
Sweet potato. I'll have a little bit. I love pumpkin. I really love
Okay.
roasted pumpkin. It's like a staple in our household as
Yeah.
well.
Purple,
Yeah,
just a little dabble.
yeah, a little bit of that's great.
Just
Sweet potatoes, all good.
broccoli,
Yeah, broccoli, avocado. Man, I'll have all of this. Look
everything.
at
Yeah, happy to go.
you. What are these bad boys here?
Okay, so this is where we get the protein in the
Uh-huh.
meal from the plant. So this is tempeh, which is a fermented soybean.
Okay.
It's an acquired taste. Some people
Oh, yeah.
don't love it.
We'll see if we can acquire it today.
Exactly.
I've never had
You be the
tempeh.
judge.
I've never had tempeh.
Never had it? Okay,
No.
great. The first time for it. This is a shiitake mushroom-based
cool.
sort of meat-like product.
Ah, wow.
So
I love mushrooms.
It does taste good. So I think you'll like that. And then all of the other stuff as well. Happy with
Yeah.
So what's on your plate usually? What would?
When I was towards the back end of my rugby career, so I really, when we first started out, when I was young, and also as a diabetic when we were young, we started out with a very high carbohydrate diet, as
Right.
was the norm back in the day.
Yeah.
And then towards the back end, like in my late 20s, early 30s, I really switched to a very much protein-rich diet,
Yeah.
very low-carb diet, which is a real game changer for me, both athletically and just management of my diabetes became a lot easier.
Yeah, and I imagine the nutritionists and dietitians and the experts at the clubs you were playing at, they weren't encouraging low carb diets, right?
Not at all. Not at all. No,
Carbs fuel performance.
Yeah, all of that.
If you want to be a powerful athlete, you've
Got it. Carbs was massive high carb, and then I moved to a real protein, just really your typical sort of back in the day it was like the Atkins diet. But
Yeah.
it was very much less than 20 grams of carbohydrate a day.
Yeah.
2020 would be a lot for me.
Keto diet, yeah, it's a true keto diet.
It was real keto.
I did that as well for many months.
Yeah.
I'll let you do the garnish stuff.
Sure,
Deep much fingers in there. Do you want some leafy greens?
Look, man, it's a great feast.
And there's your dressing, which is homemade, like herbs, tahini, soy sauce.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Don't I love that?
Just see how you go.
And is that chili? Yeah.
Yeah, chili.
Fantastic.
Okay, so when you give your insulin for something like this, let's sort of talk about how do you calculate your dose.
Yeah.
And over the years, obviously, you've probably become very good at eyeing off a plate of food and knowing what's in it.
Yeah.
When you look at that, are you looking at that as carbohydrates, protein, and sort of making calculations, or have you sort of got the knack of just eyeing it all?
It's a bit of a knack, but equally, I find it when you don't eat a lot of a particular food, and then you have it, I find, particularly like rice for me, that will really give me a spike because I haven't eaten a great deal of carbs too often. So I'm typically on a relatively low amount of insulin most of the time. When you have a bit, you really go high.
Yes.
So I'm going to overestimate what I think's there. And I'm going to think for me there might be, I'm going to need about 40 to 50 units of insulin probably to cope with that meal.
Okay, interesting. So what you just explained there is really interesting, because when I was low carb and keto, I found the same thing. You lose your carbohydrate tolerance, but you become really good at being able to just eat fat and protein and sort of like the lower carb foods. Then as soon as you eat a food that should be tolerable, it just sends your blood glucose really high.
Yeah, exactly.
But when I transitioned to plant-based, the opposite happened. So my glucose tolerance improved so much that I can tolerate more carbs than ever before.
Wow.
So it really is sort of the body adjusting. I like to call it like the currency that you're trading in. So you're trading in fat.
Yeah.
Your body's good at burning and storing fat because that's what you're eating. And then for me, I'm trading more in glucose and carbohydrates, less so in the fats. You know? So the body adjusts, which is kind of interesting.
It is,
like if you spent months, I'm not telling you to do this, but if you spent a few months transitioning to a higher carb diet, you would begin to tolerate it better.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, I've had the same experience.
And the other thing with the plant-based diet, which I've noticed is, like when I first made the transition, I was so kind of phobic of, firstly, carbohydrates, because I hadn't eaten them in so many years. But also like wondering like where am I getting protein from?
Yeah.
You know? But it turns out all plants have all of the essential amino acids. You just have to eat enough diversity. You've got to eat enough of them to get the full amount.
Mushrooms are great.
You like them? Nice.
If you didn't know, you'd think there was some. It doesn't have the meaty aftertaste. There's no real great taste to them in terms of.
It's the texture.
It's the texture, but it's got a real meaty texture, doesn't it?
Yeah. And you dabbled in like intermittent fasting, right?
Yeah.
Is that something you've?
Well, I still do. I don't really. I never eat before. I drink a bit of coffee.
Yeah.
I typically never eat before lunchtime, midday, most days.
I'm pretty similar.
Yeah, just because of work, so I tend to just have, my typical breakfast. If I'm at home, let's say breakfast, lunch is going to be 4 or 6 fried eggs is what I really like. Just eggs on their own, with a bit of chili sauce.
True carnivore, hey?
Yeah, I really love that.
How funny, the vegan and the carnivore.
Yeah. And
the contrast.
Yeah.
But it's a good sort of message is there are so many ways to do this, right? And I speak to people with diabetes all the time. Like they ask, what is the best diet? And it's very hard to say because not only is it different between individuals, but within the same individual, you can have many diets that work. Yeah. Right? So it's hard to advise people. So I try to keep it more evidence-based and just point to what does the science say about it. And I encourage people to self-experiment,
Yeah, and your point before about how the body adapts is so true. It doesn't matter what you sort of do, your body finds a way to work with it. Right. I mean, I'm not, I've had periods in my life where I've been very strict on my diet and I've been very good. I've had other periods in my life where I'm not as strict, as you do. And, you do just adapt over time.